All right, so if you're here, you are interested in learning how to do this activity. What does Congress do? First things first, since you are at home working on this independently, I'm going to work through part one with you, and then you're going to work on part two on your own. Thinking back to yesterday, we did answer this question with our notes on what Congress does, and we filled in these quadrants and we looked at some examples of what Congress actually does. So now we're going to put that to practice, okay? So the first thing you need to know is that you're going to look at some primary sources today and try and understand what Congress actually does. So you're going to use this slideshow here. What does Congress do? And I'm going to open it in a separate tab and put it side by side so that I can see the documents, but I also can see my work, which you guys can do obviously on your iPads as well, or your computers, whatever you're on. So these are some documents from the National Archives that were compiled for this type of activity. And you're going to look at the documents. You can even zoom in on the documents to try and identify what Congress does. So we're going to do this together. Let's do document one, which, by the way, does require you to read cursive, so you may have to get creative here with some of them, but you will have some choice too. So document one is the document I'm going to do as my example. Okay, so I'll put document one here. Then I'm going to look at the document, which is right over here to the right of my screen. It says Executive Mansion, Washington. It says February 20-something, 1864. Okay, interesting, 1864. And then it says to the Senate of the United States, I nominate Ulysses S. Grant, now a Major General in the military review, to be Lieutenant General in the Army of the United States. Signed, Abraham Lincoln. Okay, first of all, cool. This is a letter from Abraham Lincoln in 1864 to the Senate. So what I would put here is who wrote the document. Abraham Lincoln in 1864, right? To the Senate. Why did he write it? It looks like he was requesting that Grant be nominated to the General of the Army. This was during the Civil War. And this kind of answers this question over here, but what is the goal of the document? Abraham Lincoln was trying to appoint Grant as the General of the military. Not the Army, the military, excuse me. It does say Army in there, but they're really focusing on the military in general. Okay, so then we have basic information about what the document is. So now the question is, let's apply what we learned yesterday. Which job of Congress does this document represent? Interesting. So then I have to try and figure out which quadrant it would go in, and I'm going to highlight it in Notability. Is it about passing a bill? No. Is it about representing constituents? No, not really. It's not about people back home or representatives. Interesting. Is it about constitutional powers, meaning like immigration, trade, oversight, money, declaring war? No. So then I think it would fall into this quadrant, balances power. Specifically, it looks like this, confirming presidential nominations. Why? We're going to answer it below. This document represents this quadrant, or this job of Congress, because it is a letter in which the president, Abraham Lincoln, is requesting that the Senate approve of his nomination for the general, which is Grant, right? Okay, so that's my example, but that's what you're going to do for every other one of these. You can choose between any of these documents. Some of them are easier than others, and remember, you can zoom in on your iPads as well to really read them and analyze them. Some of them might be tricky, but what I want you to do is pick two more documents, and make sure you write the numbers so I know what you're referencing, and then you're going to try to make an educated guess about which job of Congress is being represented in the document. Okay. With that, please email me if you have any questions, but otherwise you are good to go.